Imagine you are walking through a dense forest. The trees stretch endlessly in every direction, and the path ahead is uncertain. Suddenly you hear a rustle in the bushes. Your heart starts racing. Is it a predator? Is it danger? But when you look, there is nothing there. Just the wind moving the leaves. Your body, your mind, your entire being reacted to something that didn't exist. Now, what if I told you that this is exactly how most of us live our entire lives? We worry about things that haven't happened. We stress over problems that might never exist. We lose sleep over futures that are nothing more than shadows in the mind. And yet, these imaginary fears dictate our emotions, our decisions, and ultimately, our entire experience of life. Eastern philosophy has spent thousands of years exploring this phenomenon. The Buddha called it dukkha, the suffering created by our own minds. Taoist sages warned against wu-wei, the unnecessary striving that leads to anxiety. Hindu teachings describe Maya, the illusion that keeps us trapped in fear and confusion. But the core lesson is the same. Most of what we worry about does not exist. It is a projection, a creation of the mind, a distortion of reality. And yet we allow these illusions to control us.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
But why does this happen? Why do we obsess over things that aren't real? The answer lies in the way the human mind evolved. Our ancestors lived in a world of immediate threats: predators, starvation, enemies. Their survival depended on anticipating danger. The ones who worried the most, who were always on high alert, were the ones who lived long enough to pass on their genes. And so we inherited this tendency. Even though we no longer face the same dangers, our minds still operate as if we do. We project threats onto the future. We imagine worst-case scenarios. We create problems in our heads so that we can prepare for them. But in doing so, we suffer unnecessarily. Think about it. How many times have you worried about something that never actually happened? How many sleepless nights have you spent stressing over an outcome that never came to pass? How much of your life has been consumed by thoughts that had no grounding in reality? And the worst part, even when the thing you worried about does happen, your worry didn't prevent it. It didn't change anything. It only made you suffer twice, once in your mind, and then again in reality. So if worrying about what doesn't exist is irrational, how do we stop? How do we break free from this mental trap? Eastern wisdom provides an answer: presence. The only thing that truly exists is this moment. The past is gone. The future is uncertain. The only thing that is real is now. And yet, most of us do not live in the present. We live in the past, replaying regrets, holding on to pain. Or we live in the future, fabricating fears, chasing illusions. But here's the truth: the more you focus on the present, the less power your worries have over you. Imagine you are holding a cup of tea. Feel the warmth in your hands. Smell the aroma. Take a sip and notice the taste. In that moment, there is no past. There is no future. There is only the experience of drinking tea. This is mindfulness. This is presence. And it is in these moments that worry dissolves. Because worry only exists when the mind leaves the present. But what about real problems? What about financial struggles? health concerns, relationship conflicts? The answer is the same. Deal with them in the present. If there is an action you can take now, take it. If there is nothing you can do in this moment, let it go. Because worrying about something you cannot change does nothing but drain your energy. And if the time comes when you must face the problem, you will handle it far better with a calm mind than with a mind exhausted by worry. But let's go even deeper. What if I told you that not only do most of your worries not exist, but that you yourself, the you that worries, do not exist in the way you think you do? Eastern philosophy challenges the very nature of the self. It teaches that the ego, the I that we identify with, is just another illusion. It is a collection of thoughts, memories, and conditioning. But it is not real in the way we assume. And much of our worry comes from this false sense of self. We worry about our identity, our reputation, our status. We fear failure because we attach it to our worth. We fear loss because we cling to things as if they define us. But what if there was no self to protect? What if you realized that you are not your thoughts, not your worries, not the stories you tell yourself? This is why meditation is so powerful. It allows you to step back from the illusion of self, to observe your thoughts without identifying with them, to see worries arise and pass like clouds in the sky. When you meditate, you begin to understand that thoughts are just thoughts. They are not reality. They are not you. And the moment you see this clearly, worry loses its grip. Now let's do an experiment. Close your eyes for a moment and listen to your thoughts. Watch them appear and disappear. Who is watching? Who is the observer? If you can observe your thoughts, then you cannot be your thoughts. And if you are not your thoughts, then why let them control you? Why let them create suffering over things that don't even exist? This is the essence of Eastern wisdom. It is not about blind faith or religious doctrine. It is about seeing reality as it truly is. It is about breaking free from illusions of the future, illusions of the self, illusions of control. Because once you see through these illusions, life becomes lighter. The weight of unnecessary worry falls away. You begin to move through life with ease, with clarity, with peace. But here's the real question. Are you willing to let go? Are you willing to step outside the prison of your own mind and see the world as it really is? Because if you are, then everything changes. The world does not change. Circumstances do not change. But you do. Your perception shifts. And when perception shifts, everything shifts. The illusion of control. Why letting go is the ultimate freedom. We spend our lives trying to control things that are fundamentally uncontrollable. We try to control the future, thinking that if we plan enough, predict enough, prepare enough, we can prevent disaster. We try to control other people, believing that if we say the right words, act the right way, exert enough pressure, we can make them behave the way we want. We even try to control our own emotions, forcing ourselves to feel happy when we are not, suppressing anger when it arises, pretending we are calm when we are filled with anxiety. But here's the truth: control is an illusion. It is a lie that the mind tells itself to create a false sense of security. And the more you try to control, the more you suffer. Because life does not obey your commands. Other people do not bend to your will. The future does not care about your expectations. Think about the last time things didn't go your way. The last time you planned for something and it fell apart. The last time you tried to control a situation only to watch it slip through your fingers like sand. How did it feel? Frustrating? Infuriating? Powerless? That feeling of resistance, of fighting against reality, of demanding that things be different than they are, that is the root of suffering. And it is entirely self-created, because life itself does not cause suffering. Life simply happens. Events unfold. Circumstances change. The suffering comes from your attachment to how you think things should be. Eastern wisdom has long understood this. The Taoists call it Wu Wei, the art of effortless action. It means moving with the flow of life instead of resisting it. It means understanding that control is not power. Real power comes from adaptability, from knowing when to act and when to let go. The Buddhists teach non-attachment, the ability to engage with life fully without clinging to any particular outcome. It does not mean passivity. It does not mean giving up. It means participating in life without being enslaved by expectations. And Hindu philosophy speaks of karma yoga, the practice of taking action while surrendering attachment to the results. You do your best, and then you let go. But let's be honest, letting go is terrifying. The mind rebels against it. It wants certainty. It wants guarantees. It wants to know that if it just does everything right, everything will work out. But that's not how life works. And deep down, you already know this. You have seen it. You have experienced it. You have watched as things beyond your control shaped your life in ways you never expected. Some events seemed bad at first, but later turned out to be a blessing. Some things seemed perfect but turned into disasters. If you look back on your life, you will see that the most important moments were never fully in your control. So let me ask you, if control is an illusion, why keep chasing it? If trying to control everything only leads to stress, anxiety, and frustration, why not take a different approach? What if, instead of clinging to control, you learn to trust? Not in some mystical blind faith kind of way, but in a deeply logical way. Trust that life unfolds the way it is meant to. Trust that no matter what happens, you will adapt. Trust that you are strong enough, resilient enough, intelligent enough to handle whatever comes your way. Because here's the truth. The people who suffer the least in life are not the ones who control the most. They are the ones who trust the most. They are the ones who have learned to surrender to the flow of life without losing themselves in it. But how do you do this? How do you let go when the mind is screaming to hold on? It starts with awareness. Pay attention to how often you try to control things. Notice the tension in your body when things don't go your way. Notice the thoughts of resistance, the internal arguments with reality, the frustration when people don't behave as you want them to. See it clearly. Because once you see it, you can begin to release it. The next time something unexpected happens, instead of reacting with anger or panic, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, can I change this in this moment? If the answer is yes, take action. If the answer is no, let it go. Not in a passive way, not in a resigned way, but in a powerful way. a way that says, I do not need to control everything to be at peace. But let's go even deeper. What if I told you that the need for control is not just about external circumstances? What if I told you that it is rooted in something even deeper, fear of the unknown? Because that is the real reason we try to control. We fear uncertainty. We fear not knowing what will happen. And so we try to create the illusion of certainty through control. But the unknown is not something to fear. It is the very nature of life. It is where all possibility exists. It is where every new experience, every unexpected opportunity, every moment of growth comes from. If life were completely predictable, it would also be completely lifeless. So here's the ultimate question. Are you willing to embrace the unknown? Are you willing to step into life without needing to control everything? Because if you are, then you will discover something incredible: freedom. The freedom to live without constant worry. The freedom to act without being paralyzed by fear. The freedom to experience life fully without clinging to how you think it should be. And that kind of freedom is worth more than any illusion of control. The final liberation: how to live fully without fear or attachment. If you have come this far, then something inside you is already shifting. You are beginning to see that most of what weighs you down, most of what holds you back, is nothing more than an illusion. The illusion of worry, the illusion of control, the illusion of a self that must constantly defend its place in the world. And the moment you wake up to this truth, you stand at the edge of something extraordinary: the possibility of true freedom. But what does it mean to be truly free? Most people think freedom is about having no responsibilities, no limitations, no obligations. But that is not real freedom. That is escapism. Real freedom is not about running away from life. It is about fully engaging with it, without fear, without attachment, without the constant mental noise that keeps you trapped in suffering. It is about moving through the world with a sense of ease, with a mind that is not burdened by unnecessary worries, with a heart that is open yet unattached. But how do you achieve this? How do you live in a world filled with uncertainty, with loss, with impermanence, and still remain free? The answer lies in one of the most profound teachings of Eastern wisdom: non-attachment. Non-attachment does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you withdraw from life. It means you participate fully, but without clinging. It means you love without possessing. You act without being obsessed with results. You experience joy without fearing its loss. You face challenges without resisting them. This is not just a spiritual idea, it is the most practical way to live. Think about it. How much of your suffering comes from attachment? Attachment to how things should be. Attachment to how people should treat you. Attachment to an idea of yourself that you constantly have to defend. When you are attached, you are always vulnerable. If things go your way, you are happy. If they do not, you suffer. Your peace is always at the mercy of external circumstances. But when you let go of attachment, you become unshakable. You still experience life fully, but you are no longer controlled by it. But here's the paradox: letting go of attachment does not mean you become passive. In fact, it makes you more powerful. When you are no longer afraid of loss, you become bolder. When you do not cling to success, you take bigger risks. When you are not obsessed with controlling how others see you, you become more authentic. The greatest warriors, the most enlightened sages, the most fearless leaders all understood this. They acted with full intensity, but without desperation. They gave everything, but they were not owned by anything. This is the mindset that allows you to move through life with confidence, with peace, with an inner strength that cannot be taken away. But let's go even deeper. What if I told you that the real reason we struggle with fear and worry is because we misunderstand who we are? We believe we are this isolated ego, this collection of thoughts, this fragile identity that must constantly protect itself. But every major Eastern tradition, from Buddhism to Taoism to Hindu philosophy, teaches the same fundamental truth. The self that you think you are is an illusion. You are not your thoughts. You are not your worries. You are not even your body. You are something far greater, something beyond definition, beyond limitation, beyond fear. The moment you realize this, truly realize it, everything changes. You stop taking your worries so seriously because you see that they belong to a false identity. You stop fearing loss because you see that nothing real can ever be lost. You stop clinging to control because you understand that you were never in control to begin with. But how do you experience this truth, not just as an idea, but as a reality? You must silence the mind, not in a forceful way, not by fighting your thoughts, but by observing them without attachment. This is why meditation is so powerful. Not because it is a ritual, not because it is some mystical practice, but because it is the simplest and most direct way to see reality as it is. Sit in silence. Watch your thoughts come and go. Do not judge them. Do not fight them. Just observe. And then ask yourself, if I can observe my thoughts, then who is the observer? If my thoughts are constantly changing, then how can they be who I really am? Keep asking this question. Keep watching. And eventually, a moment will come, a moment of absolute stillness, absolute clarity. In that moment, you will see that the self you have been protecting, the self you have been worrying about, does not exist in the way you thought. And when you see that, you will also see that there is nothing to fear, nothing to hold on to, nothing to control. But here's the final and most important truth. Liberation is not something you achieve once and then forget about. It is a practice, a way of being, a daily commitment to seeing through illusion. You will still face challenges. You will still experience difficulties, but you will move through them differently. You will not resist them. You will not let them define you. You will not be trapped by them. You will live with a sense of lightness, with a mind that is clear and uncluttered, with a spirit that is unburdened by unnecessary suffering. And that is the highest form of freedom. So now I leave you with one final question. What would your life look like if you stopped worrying about what doesn't exist? If you let go of the illusions of control, of fear, of attachment? If you moved through the world with complete presence, complete acceptance, complete fearlessness? Because that life is possible. It is not something distant. It is not something reserved for monks or sages. It is available to you right now, in this moment. The only thing standing in the way is the mind's refusal to let go. So the only question left is, are you ready?